everybody. Leslie here. Today is September 6th, I think, and we're on day 19 of this book called Unstuck. It's a series I'm doing. We have quite a few more to do. We're going to go into November with this, possibly up to Thanksgiving or right around there, because I'm doing 5 days a week. It might go even further, so we'll see. Today's is on, if you have this book, and you can get it on Amazon, it's by Kimberly Jones. It's called Unstuck. Easy to find. It's a brand new book. Excuse me. And it's in hardcover, it's on Kindle, and it's in a Kindle format and on Audible as well. So I'm gonna, the day 19 is what we're on, and it's called Forgive Yourself. And here's the verse we're gonna look at today. Luke 22, verses 60 and 61. Peter said, and Peter was one of Jesus's disciples, "Man, I don't know what you are talking about." And immediately, while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. At that moment, the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Suddenly, the Lord's words flashed through Peter's mind. "Before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." You know, Peter was one of the fishermen. He's probably just a teenager when he came to know Jesus, and he started following Jesus. And Jesus made him one of the first disciples. In fact, he told Peter he would build his church upon Peter, whose real name, original name, was Simon. The Lord changed his name to Peter, which means the rock. And it's like, upon you, I will use you to help build my church. Peter was a definite leader personality within the 12 disciples. The Lord, God uses all different types of personalities. But there was something about Peter that God understood his brashness, some of his rough edges, of course. And he, over the 3 years that Jesus was on the earth and Peter was walking along his side, the Lord would continue to smooth out some of those rough edges. During the Passover meal, Jesus mentioned that one of his disciples would betray him. And then that created, if you look in Luke 22, verse 24, that created an argument among the disciples, the 12 disciples. And then Jesus turned his attention to Peter. And he alerted Peter that he would face a trial and that he was praying for him. And once Jesus said that, Peter insisted that he was ready to die for the sake of the gospel. And Jesus responded that, in fact, you're going to deny him. He said, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. And we know that Peter did deny Jesus when you read through the Gospel of Luke, as he was escorted through the courtyard. Jesus had been in the garden, and he was being escorted out where he was arrested, and right before he was eventually crucified. And so at the 3rd denial, because he said, you'll deny me 3 times, after the 3rd, I don't know him, no, I never knew him, a rooster crowed, and Jesus looked straight at Peter, and they locked eyes. And then he, with a lot of heartache, realized that what Jesus told him came to pass. And he left there, and then it says in the Bible, he cried bitterly. In spite of us if you know Jesus as your Savior, in spite of us following the Lord, we're going to make mistakes. But He's quick to forgive us. But some of the problem can be in forgiving ourselves when we make mistakes. We'll have a lot of people around us wanting to rub our noses in it, so to speak. But we have to be open to understanding that if we're sorry, He is quick to forgive us. But we have to be repentant. We have to be sorry for what we've done. And when I was in my early 20s, I was seeking God's forgiveness, and God was quick to forgive because I was so sorry. But people around me, family members, still wanted to bring that stuff up, whatever it is that we have in our lives. And that's when you have to put a stop to that, especially like we're going to be around our family. It is hard to set unless we're so, as far as miles between us, so, apart from each other, that we don't have to deal with it. But I finally, when I was in my late 30s, I had to have a kind of meeting of the minds with my mother and put a stop to some bullying that was going on, yes, from my mother. And it changed our relationship because I stood up to that. Forgiving myself happened a long time before that. But there are people that want to keep bringing that up to, again, bring us down, really. And so I got to a mature point where it was okay to confront it and say, I'm not taking that from you anymore. It's okay to confront it and set the gauntlet down that no, I'm not, this is not appropriate anymore. And to have my daughters witness me standing up nicely against that and not having to endure that type of, really, it's bullying. And so you have to, first and foremost, forgive yourself and then move forward and not repeat. Okay? There was shame against me for changing jobs, of all things. And I've told this story before where I did change a job and I asked for, what you should do when you hear this story is applaud. Because I just figured I would ask for a lot more money. This is working as a paralegal. A lot more money because I had moved to Tallahassee, and the salaries there were they were lower than Tulsa, and Tulsa wasn't that high. And so I needed to get up to a higher salary to be pushing myself forward. And I had the skills already by that time where I deserved to make more money than I was making. And I don't go into the amount, but I'm telling you, I went on this interview, and by that time I had already had, I guess, probably 7 or 8 years experience under my belt in many different areas of law. And I asked for $7,000 more than I was currently making. And in that job I was in, they gave me a very piddly, minuscule raise. And they gave another paralegal, a much higher raise. Now, it wasn't that I knew that as fact, but I had heard. She was the only other paralegal in the firm. But I worked for 3 full-timers and a part-time attorney, and she worked for 1 attorney. Now, she had been there for 7 years, and I had only been there for a little over a year and a half, and something like that. Maybe, I don't think it was 2 years, it was just a year and a half. And I was quite amazed by that they didn't give me a decent raise. And I had been faithful, came to work on time, did a good job, and worked so well with, I was working more with a lady attorney, and we worked so well together. So, but I did work for the others as well. So I thought, Lord, if you don't want me to move, then I won't move. I always said that before I went on interviews. And I dared to ask for 7,000 more than I was making. And I thought, well, they can say no. And they said yes. I was flying. That gave me over $300 clear more in my every paycheck. I was floored. The Lord so blessed me that day in stepping out. Was that my favorite job though? No, it wasn't really. They were going to let me do paralegal work, and then they were trying. It's so strange because they were trying to break up a power trip by the other two other paralegals were on. And they didn't quite know how to do it, so they were bringing me in to break up their power trip. They were two wonderful people. And so I was relegated to doing a lot, really not doing paralegal work. And I knew that wasn't going to go well for my career. And so I had to leave and go to another job after about a year. And it was right across the street at a big law firm. But because I had raised my salary up, that 7,000 more, I was able to go and made a lateral move. I really didn't ask for more money, and I probably could have. Definitely could have. So leaving, and when I mentioned this, my point is, when I mentioned this to my mom on the phone, she said, I'm not going to tell your dad. Now, I'm already in my 40s at that point. And my way, you know, a lot of times when raise time came around, the law firms weren't generous. If it was a good law firm, yes, I felt like I would stay, but I had bills to pay like everybody else. And so I felt that with my skill sets by that time and my expertise that I had gained over the years, that I deserved to make more money. And so that when I moved to that firm across the street, I was truly working as a paralegal, working cases, and that's what I wanted to do. Okay, so when my mom was saying that, she had mentioned it to my auntie, her older sister, and my aunt lived close by and came to visit my mother, and she said, "Oh, Leslie changed a job again." And she said, "What? Why are you saying it that way? Did you know she gave herself an incredible raise?" And it wasn't me giving that to myself. It was the Lord blessing me, by the way, and blessing my efforts. And so that shame was a thing in my family. Don't let anybody shame you. Okay, and then my mother mentioned it to me on the phone. I didn't know that you got that much more money. You know, I said, well, you know, if I wasn't supposed to have the job, I wasn't going to get this job. You know, I pray over everything. My mom really didn't want to hear that, but that was a huge blessing at that point, because I needed that extra money to do some things in my life. I truly needed it to bless the family, and it was an awesome blessing. And so there was no shame in doing that. Don't let other people shame you. You know, you might have left a job that you shouldn't have. I certainly, that's what I feel about one particular job, but maybe the Lord was protecting me as well, that, you know, I didn't stay at that job, and that, but I have made mistakes, I believe, in leaving one particular job in Tallahassee. And the women there, oh my gosh, the paralegals were fantastic. I feel that's a job I should have stayed in. And that's a learning experience, so forgive yourself for those, for the mistakes. that you've made in your life and give it to God and be truly sorry and move on. Be truly, authentically, genuinely sorry and move forward. Okay? God first over people. Stop being a people pleaser. Stop thinking about the past all the time and looking back, and move forward. Okay? He has a lot planned for you. He said his plan is to prosper you and not harm you. He wants to heal us. As a lot of you know, I'm a widow who's recovering and going through the grief process. He wants to bring us back and restore us. And the invitation is to follow him and not deny him. You know, Peter denied him, but was he no longer in the fold? Was he no longer a disciple? No, he became even more determined to follow what Jesus had taught him, what Jesus did by example, and follow Jesus' example. And failure is not fatal. It may be that, you know, you have gone through loss from the past. Maybe a relationship failed. That's not a fatal thing. You have other chances. And I think sometimes by how Jesus is portrayed, or God is portrayed as an ogre. Yes, God is God. He's omnipotent and omnipresent. He is God, but he adores us. Again, he's not there to harm us, but to prosper us. He has a plan and a purpose for your life. Give it to him. Okay? So if you have time today, and I would make time, go to Luke 22:60-61. Yes, there's heartbreak in life. I can attest to that. There's mistakes we make. There's loss. But those mistakes, there's forgiveness if you're sorry. Move forward. Don't let that hold you back. All right? So have a great day today. Don't forget to go to paralegalcoffeetalk.com. There's lots of stuff over there, resources for you as a beginner. Okay? And one of the resources is the Paralegal Resource Hub that's free. Okay, that's our free resource. There's lots of info there on my website, paralegalcoffeetalk.com. Go visit it today. Like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video, but there are over 900 plus videos regarding the legal field. For this season, we're going through this book, Unstuck. On the website, look under every tab to make sure you don't miss anything. Sign up for the Paralegal Resource Hub. Like I said, it's free. Look under the Paralegal Resources tab. So what else is there? The Accelerator. I'll be launching that membership. That everything on that website is for beginners. The Accelerator tab is for beginners that are new to the field. And in that membership, one module out of about 7 or 8 is called the Cover Letter Secrets module. That alone is worth getting into the membership for. And I'll put more info about the price and the launch date in the before the weekend is up. Okay, so stay tuned for that. But go to paralegalcoffeetalk.com. Look under the tabs I mentioned. Look under Legal Break-In Book. That's for people looking at the career for the first time. Okay? But everything I do is for the entry-level paralegal, because I want to see you thrive and I want to see you succeed in this career. Have a great day. Going to sign off for now, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Take care.